Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 84th episode of the Spiritual Brainstorm. This episode directly follows the 82nd episode, where I was raising some questions as to how to sort of sort things between the experience of love in the third dimension, unconditional love, and all of these things. And, I just wanted to share some extra reflections that I came to by reading some of the comments that were left um, and a few other ideas that I had in the meantime. So again, what I typically do when I try to sort complex questions is just interrogate the parts that I'm made of. So my body, for instance, my cells. And, you know, does every single cell, pretty ugly. Okay. Does every single cell love every single other cell? And is that how they perceive things? And I'm not sure that's the right way to think about it. But let me give you an example, for instance. Imagine if you stick your finger into your eye. That is not a very pleasant experience. And I'm not sure that the eye cells would happily suffer that kind of event and say, "Oh, sure," and, endure the pain and say, "Poke me some more." Um, but what they won't do, though, is to say, let's sever the finger and cut it off because it doesn't deserve to exist. It's doing bad things. So it's as if there is a dimension of unconditional love that is sort of wraps around the entirety of the body and recognizes that every single cell has a purpose and a meaning. But then, so that's unconditional love. Every part is legitimate. Every part deserves, deserves to receive love, deserves to receive attention, deserves to receive energy, oxygen, nutrients, all of that stuff. But that doesn't mean that any part can interact with any other part in any way. Like every cell in its rightful place. And so unconditional love is also the template for how you put together things so that they interact in a harmonious way, so that your stomach wouldn't digest your heart, and your colon wouldn't poop out your liver, and all of that is really important. So it's your cells, of course. I would say that they sort of attract to themselves the parts that they're more they find more how should I say, that resonate more with who they are. So skin cells will attract to them other skin cells, and stomach cells will attract other stomach cells. And then there is an overarching kind of wisdom or knowledge which defines how these kind of affinities that form certain parts, like the skin or the eyes or whatever, how they should interact in a global way to form this collective global organism. But so that's what we're basically testing. When if you send to the universe the message that you are unconditional love, then it will send into your experience all kinds of things and saying, "Are you sure you love everything? Are you sure?" And it's the same as, this eye that says, "I love everything," and then it's poked in the eye, and then it's, it's watery, it's this and that. And it's really about being honest about what you love and what you don't, what you like and what you don't. Because if you're not honest and authentic about what you can tolerate, and what are your affinities, what you like, then the universe is just going to send you curveballs all the time until you snap, and you let go of this kind of mask that you were wearing, pretending like you're unconditional love. The second thing that I wanted to talk about, and this is specifically, I wanted to thank Amanda Schutzer for her contribution. It's really useful. It's this idea of how can we emulate, Ram Dass or Jesus or Buddha, um, I think it's two D's, anyways, in the way that they practiced love. And that got me thinking, and I thought that actually the best way to practice love is at whatever level, whatever you're able to give, given who you are at a specific point in time. And so it shouldn't be like an aim or a goal to try and emulate the way Ram Dass, Jesus, or Buddha were interacting with people. We shouldn't think that there is a universal template of how to love other people. Um, I think that love is rather being honest with how much you are able to give, and to give that which you're able to give. Simply speaking, so to be really honest about yourself. So, like, I'll give you several examples. For instance, take a 4-year-old kid, and they have a certain bodily strength, and if you ask them to help out, for instance, carrying a bucket of water, for instance, from one point to another, well, if they see you carrying two huge full buckets of water, for instance, very heavy, and they see you and they want to copy you, they will actually break their arms off, or they won't go very far, simply because they're not developed enough. They don't have the strength to carry as much as you do, or to contribute as much as you do. And so, should they feel bad because they can only carry this small bucket of water? And that's exactly how I see, the fact of um, giving love to others. There is no standard. The standard is you should be self-aware and authentic about how much you can give, how much are you able to give, and then in all honesty, give that which you're able to give. Like that kid that would assess their own strength and wouldn't try to overdo it, or wouldn't slack off and underdo it. um, they would carry just the amount that they're capable of carrying, and that would be all that you ask of them. Um, because doing, like, trying to emulate, loving people like Ram Dass is actually pretending to be someone that you're not, or not yet. Um, and so, if you're not being honest about how much you're able to give, you're just going to end up hurting yourself, and you'll never be able to carry more. Like, for instance, if this child tries to carry too much, it'll actually end up hurting his arms, and prevent, his ability to carry more heavy weights in the future, because he'll have some traumas, or some pains, or some aches, some wounds that might not heal that easily, and you'll have to first heal the wounds in the arms, because they tried to carry too much, before they can actually start carrying anything again. And I think with love, it's really similar. Um, it's really about being honest with yourself, and that is also the first lesson: is to be honest about how much you're able to give, is ultimately self love. So love yourself for how much you're able to love others. Love your ability to love at whatever stage it is. You first have to love your ability to love others. If you don't do that, then you're actually hating the way you're loving others, which is completely paradoxical if you think about it. And you won't go nowhere. You won't go anywhere from there. So I hope I'm not really getting lost there. But so that's how you reach unconditional love eventually. Eventually, but everything in its good time. And again, it's not every cell is meant to do that. And I think that at this stage of humanity, we're just trying to clarify what we're willing to take, who we want to attract to us, what we like, and um, like, saying that unconditional love is the ultimate goal is denying the love that you're able to give at your level right now, and saying that it's not adequate, which is a just a sign that you're not loving yourself for who you are, and is going to stall you in your development. The last thing I'd like to talk about is this idea of the two buckets. And, you first have to make sure that your own bucket is filled before the surplus, then when it's filled, then the surplus sort of trickles into the second bucket and starts to fill that one. And so it's the same as if, for instance, you had food on your plate. Before you can start sharing with others, you have to make sure that your own needs are satisfied. If you give to others from your first bucket, then it's going to feel very painful, like a sacrifice. And a sacrifice is not really an act of love. And if you think about unconditional love, there is no sacrifice in unconditional love because, well, first of all, once you reach that state of consciousness, you understand that everything is yourself. So, how can you sacrifice yourself if you're actually doing something for yourself? You understand? So, until your consciousness is not at the level where you can see every single thing around you as being a part of you, an integral part of you, then talking about interacting with other things in an unconditional loving way is just theory. It's not practice. And that's also something that you have to be really honest about, because if you're not, and you pretend that these two buckets don't exist because you are past that, then again, the universe is going to throw you curveballs and saying, well, let's see how far you can go. Okay, fine, you donate this much to that person. Okay, get rid of everything on your bank account. Okay, how are you feeling now? Now give up your house, give up your car, give up everything. How are you feeling now? And maybe actually you will reach a Buddha state if it's actually aligned with who you are. And then it won't feel like a sacrifice. But if it does, if you feel like you're sacrificing something for somebody else, then it's not love, cannot be love. Because love, you don't sacrifice anything. You're giving something with no hope, no expectation of return, because how can you expect a return from yourself? I mean, it's like, for instance, when you're kind to yourself, you think that yourself is indebted to yourself for being kind to oneself. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So, at the point of unconditional love, there isn't even the consideration of the other because there is no other. And I cannot feel that. I cannot feel that at my level. And I just need to make peace with the fact that as long as I give as much love as I'm able to at every minute, that is all that is being asked of me. Not more, not too much, not slacking off and pretending like I don't have this love in me that I do have, but just the natural amount. And we get fixated on love, but when you take the example of this contribution of lifting and carrying the weight that you're able to carry, it's much less controversial. I think it speaks much more um, to like as an example, basically, so that we're not sort of triggered by the term love, for instance. Because when you're not capable of giving the same love as somebody else, many people might feel inadequate or not good enough or whatever. But when you see it in this way, where you can only carry, the weight that you're capable of carrying, nobody's going to blame you if you're weaker and you carry a less big weight. Everybody's just going to see, okay, they're contributing to their full capacity or ability, and that's all that we ask of them, and that's totally fine. So I hope you found this video interesting, and again, happy to hear your thoughts, and talk to you in the next video.